The 20th century was a time of extraordinary change. Humanity learned to fly. We journeyed to the moon, and in our own homes a new kind of light began to glow. This was the light of television. It was an invention that would, in time, connect us all. It brought the entire world into our living rooms, one flickering image at a time. Before television, stories were told in books, on the radio, in cinemas, but this new device offered something different. It offered a window through which we could see distant lands, witness history as it happened, and share in a common human experience. It was, quite simply, a revolution in a box. This remarkable machine did not appear overnight. It was the dream of many inventors, scientists, engineers. They worked for decades, often in isolation, chasing an idea that seemed like magic. The idea was to send moving pictures through the air. These pictures would travel invisibly, captured by an antenna and then reassembled on a screen. The journey begins not with electronics, but with mechanics. In the 1920s, a Scottish inventor named John Logie Baird had a vision. He believed it was possible to see by wireless. His idea was to use a spinning disc to capture and display images. This disc, known as a Nipkow disc, was perforated with holes in a spiral pattern. As the disc spun, each hole would scan a single line of an image. A light-sensitive cell would then convert the light from each line into an electrical signal. It was a wonderfully clever, yet fundamentally mechanical system. It was the first true step towards what we now call television. Baird's early experiments were rudimentary. He worked with simple, everyday materials: wires, lenses, contraptions built from tea chests, biscuit tins. His first televised images were crude and small, barely recognizable. Flickering shadows, ghostly outlines, simple shapes, but they were moving pictures. In 1926, he gave the world's first public demonstration of a working television system. He transmitted the image of a ventriloquist's dummy, nicknamed Stooky Bill, because its painted face had the high contrast needed for the primitive system to capture. It was a momentous achievement. While mechanical systems showed promise, the future of television lay in a different realm. It belonged to the invisible world of the electron. The idea was to use beams of electrons to scan and create an image with no moving parts at all. This was the concept of electronic television. It promised a clearer, brighter, more stable picture. Two brilliant inventors working independently would become the key figures in this new electronic age. Their parallel journeys were marked by rivalry and genius. It was a race to harness the power of the atom itself. In the United States, a young, self-taught inventor from Utah named Philo Farnsworth had a breakthrough idea. As a teenager plowing a field, he looked at the parallel rows and imagined scanning an image line by line. He envisioned a device he called an image dissector. He also conceived of a receiver, the image oscillite, using a cathode ray tube. In 1927, at 21, Farnsworth transmitted his first electronic image, a straight line. He had proven his concept worked. At the same time, Vladimir Zworykin worked for the powerful Radio Corporation of America. Zworykin developed electronic television components. He created the iconoscope. He also created the kinescope. Backed by the vast resources of RCA, Zworykin's team refined these technologies. With the triumph of electronic television, the stage was set for its public debut. The first major public broadcast took place in the late 1930s. In 1939, at the New York World's Fair, RCA began regular broadcasts showcasing this magical new medium to a spellbound public. Visitors crowded around the small television sets, their screens measuring just a few inches across, to watch speeches, cooking demonstrations, sporting events. In Britain, the BBC had already started the world's first regular high-definition television service in 1936. The Second World War interrupted this progress, but after the war, television's growth exploded. It was the dawn of a new age of mass media. For its first few decades, the world of television was a world of black and white. These early television sets were beautiful pieces of furniture, often encased in polished wood cabinets. Families would gather in their living rooms, their faces illuminated by the grayscale glow of the cathode ray tube. The programming was simple at first: news, variety shows, and dramas that were often performed live. The black and white images had their own unique charm and artistry. Directors and cinematographers had to learn how to use light, shadow, and contrast to tell a story effectively without the aid of color. As television sets became, common in homes across the world, a whole new form of popular culture began to emerge. Television programming created shared experiences on a massive scale. Entire nations would watch the same shows, laugh at the same comedies, follow the same dramatic storylines. The 1950s and 1960s, the golden age of television. Rise of iconic genres that still define TV today. Family sitcoms, I Love Lucy, thrilling westerns, Bonanza, gripping crime dramas. These programs did more than just entertain. They shaped cultural norms. Characters influenced fashion, hairstyles, the way people spoke. Idyllic sitcom families presented a vision of domestic life. Variety shows like The Ed Sullivan Show introduced new musical acts. Elvis swiveling his hips, the Beatles' American debut. Television became a powerful tastemaker. Japan anime, Japan tokusatsu superhero shows. The UK comedies, the UK period dramas. Brazil telenovelas, each culture told its own stories. The power of television extended far beyond entertainment. It quickly became the most important medium for news and information, profoundly changing politics and public discourse. The first televised presidential debate in 1960 between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon is a landmark example. Those who listened on the radio thought Nixon had won, but those who watched on television saw a young, confident Kennedy and a pale, sweating Nixon. The visual impression was powerful and helped shape the election. It demonstrated that in the age of television, image mattered just as much as words. Television brought the realities of the world into people's homes with an immediacy that had never been possible before. During the Vietnam War, for the first time in history, the horrors of conflict were broadcast into living rooms every evening. The images of soldiers, civilians, and the brutal reality of combat had a profound impact on public opinion. Many historians argue that this nightly exposure to the war eroded public support and played a significant role in the growth of the anti-war movement. Television was no longer just a passive observer. It was an active participant in the shaping of historical events. The medium also became a powerful tool for social movements. The American Civil Rights Movement, for example, was vividly documented on television. The images of peaceful protesters being met with violence, Selma, Birmingham, were broadcast across the nation and the world. These powerful visuals exposed the brutal reality of segregation and injustice, galvanizing support for the cause of civil rights. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. understood the power of television, using it to carry his message of equality and nonviolence to a national audience. The television camera became a witness for justice. For much of its history, television was delivered in just one way: broadcast over the airwaves to an antenna. This began to change with the arrival of cable television in the latter half of the 20th century. Cable offered more channels and a clearer picture, free from the interference that often plagued broadcast signals. This expansion of channels created a brand new landscape. Instead of just a few networks trying to appeal to everyone, new channels could focus on specific interests. News, sports, movies, music, comedy, television was beginning to fragment, offering more choices to more people. The next great leap was the move from analog to digital. Digital television, which became the standard in many countries during the 2000s, was a technological revolution. It allowed for the transmission of high-definition pictures which were dramatically sharper and more detailed than the old standard-definition images. It also provided clearer sound and a more efficient use of the broadcast spectrum. This transition was accompanied by the rise of satellite television, which could deliver hundreds of digital channels to homes, even in remote areas that cable could not reach. The age of abundant choice had truly arrived for viewers everywhere. This digital foundation paved the way for the most significant transformation yet: the internet. The convergence of television and the internet created the smart TV. These televisions can connect directly to the web, transforming them from simple receivers into complex entertainment hubs. From the mechanical spinning discs of John Logie Baird early cathode ray tube televisions in mid-century living rooms, smart, internet-connected screens of today, the journey of television has been one of relentless innovation. It has evolved from a scientific curiosity into an indispensable part of modern life. For nearly a century, it has been our primary storyteller, our main source of news, and our most accessible form of entertainment. It has brought us moments of shared joy, such as watching a spectacular sporting event, and moments of shared sorrow, as we witness tragedies unfold in real time. Television has been the electronic heartbeat of our global society. The legacy of television is written in our collective memory. It is the moon landing, watched by 650 million people. It is the fall of the Berlin Wall, broadcast live across a hopeful world. It is the theme songs of our favorite childhood shows and the dramatic finales of series that held us captive for years. Television has created a common cultural language that transcends borders. It has given us heroes and villains, taught us about the natural world, and shown us distant corners of the planet we might otherwise never see. It has expanded our understanding of the human experience in countless ways. Even in our current age of smartphones and social media, the influence of television endures. The principles of visual storytelling and mass communication that television pioneered are more relevant than ever. The flickering light that first captivated audiences in the 1920s still glows brightly today, illuminating our homes and our minds. Television changed the world by giving us a window to look through, and in doing so, it also gave us a new way to see ourselves.